Hi there. I wanted to talk about the death card today because it's in my energy field at the moment. Death, loss, and yeah, so I wanted to do a video, and I'm not in my normal position, no, but I need to make videos when I get the time, and I've got a little bit of free time right now. Yeah, the death card probably invokes some difficult feelings and emotions. It doesn't look a pretty card, I know, but I don't mind the death card. Of course, I'm not saying I want to die. And it's like you ask the question, are you afraid of dying? Well, I'm actually not as such, but that doesn't mean I want my life to end quite yet, by any means. But my belief about when we die is not an unpleasant one. So therefore, when the time comes, I'm sure I'm going to be bargaining it, which is one of the things that you probably do if you know you're going to die. But my belief of what happens when you pass to the other side, if you go in a energetically balanced way, let's say, is really quite beautiful. And also because I've done quite a few past life regressions with people, and I've read a lot about it, and I've read a lot of books, Dolores Cannon. I've got a lot of friends who are psychic, clairvoyants, so it doesn't frighten me. However, yes, the thought of anybody close to me dying is not pleasant. And of course, as we get older, yes, I do have those thoughts about, of course, my parents and people dear to me. And even, approaching 50 this year, yeah, I've got a bloody long way to go, and I've got my whole life ahead of me. But yeah, I'm aware that I'm halfway through my life. And when I was 18 years old, like my daughters, I thought people of 50 were like, that's it, they're so old, they're done. So, yeah, death is a sacred rite of passage. It's the end of the cycle, a cycle, and a chapter in your life, and endings to new beginnings and new chapters, new identities, old ways dying and the old forms falling away, experiences of mourning, grief and loss, finalities, endings. And this is Hades. He is the god of the underworld. Pluto. He was known as the Invisible One. He wore a helmet in the daylight to make him invisible, to hide who he truly was. And there's no escaping death. This is not supposed to be a morbid video, because it's not. But whether it be a physical death of somebody we love, which is extremely difficult, or a pet, which is extremely difficult, I wouldn't in any way, shape or form belittle a pet dying, because when my dogs have died, I have mourned probably as much as I have for human beings, if I'm really honest. Bear in mind, I haven't, except for my grandparents, and that was awful, I haven't, had a very, very dear person to me pass. So I know a lot of us have, so I can't say I've had that experience, but I was so very, very close to my granny, so I do know very much the feeling of loss, grief, never going to see them again, and it's not nice. And I don't think grief ever really goes away, but I think you manage it, maybe. Is that the right word, manage? Not really. You cope with it better after processing and acceptance. No, acceptance is one of the six processes of grief, isn't it? But I think more than acceptance, maybe the better word would be reconciliation, i.e. that person is gone, they're not coming back. Life is never going to be the same again. I use those words because I've been in conversation with a friend of mine. That's another part of the reason I'm making this video. Him and another person, both very dear to me, who are, I believe, experiencing grief and maybe not realising they are so much. Yeah, life is never going to be the same again. No, it isn't. But we can process those feelings and try to understand as much as you can, and have all our experiences and our memories and our good times and our bad times that we have in our heart forever with that person. Thinking of my granny now and it's making me well up. And we can always have that person's energy around us, because spirit can be around us whenever we want. I know that. Whether that's other people's beliefs, that's okay. But we have to find a way to have a relationship with them now that they have passed. Yeah, a different relationship. And maybe they passed because it was their time. Maybe it wasn't their time and there is, healing to do there. Maybe life was too difficult for them and they didn't want to be here anymore. And if that's the case, then be happy for them, maybe, that they're with the person they wanted to be with. Or it might not be that. I'm probably giving examples from life experiences that I've got going on at the moment. So another scenario with the death card is the loss of somebody in your life who is still on this planet, but you don't either see anymore or is not around as much. Now that's the other scenario I have going on with somebody very close to me. She is missing somebody who was with her all the time, who's now with somebody else some of the time, which is a natural transition in life. But it's hard to deal with the loss of that person. And you may feel feelings of anger, feelings of resentment, feelings of depression and anxiety of them not being around. And there's no magic wand to take them away. All there is time, working on it, processing it, and knowing that that person is going through what they want to experience right now with somebody else for some of their time. And that's their choice, and that's okay. But yes, it can be hurtful, especially when you've been with someone a lot for a long time, like maybe a best friend who's suddenly got a new boyfriend and then you don't see them. And it's hurtful, and you experience grief and loss, and you feel angry with them. But that's their choice, isn't it? So that's another form of loss. When you have a child, you lose a life that you once had. And many women actually get depressed when they first have a child. As much as they absolutely adore that child and love that little baby with all their heart, their life has changed immeasurably forever. I mean, I know that feeling. Maybe you've moved to another country. Again, one of my very good friends moved away, and we spoke to her for a little while, and then she totally cut all of us off. And we all felt her angry and upset with her. But can you imagine her losing all her friends, not being able to see them anymore? And maybe the only way she could cope with living on the other side of the world was to cut them off, because it was too deeply painful not to be able to feel them and touch them and see them every day anymore. So it's about understanding what's happening. And then there's finding meaning. The stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining. Denial, no, it's not happened, I can't believe it. We know what denial is. We know what anger is. We know what bargaining is. Oh my God, I wish I had done something differently. I wish I'd seen them that day before that they passed. I wish I'd said this to them. I never told them I loved them enough. It's a natural phase to go through, and it's absolutely okay to go through that. Acceptance, we've just talked about. And I think then there's hope and finding meaning. So finding meaning's really hard, isn't it? Finding meaning for somebody who's not with you much anymore, I think is easier, because maybe the meaning is learning to be your own person, learning not to rely on somebody, learning to make new friends, learning to be confident on your own. But when somebody has died, what is the meaning? You know, maybe there is no meaning. But so yes, the Hierophant card. He got afflicted with a very nasty poisonous dart, and he was in pain, and he suffered all his life. He had to find and create medicine for his pain and suffering, and he then taught the world what he'd learned through his medicine and suffering. So he found meaning through pain and suffering by helping others. Can you help anybody or find any meaning for the person that has left that you no longer can see? Or is there any way you can make any good out of that situation? Not that it's a good situation, I'm not saying that if you've lost somebody, but can you be a support to people? Or you get what I'm saying. Yeah. So they are some of my thoughts on the death scenario, loss and grief. I have made some notes. What else did I want to say? I do some hello and goodbye, or goodbye and hello conversations in the therapy that I do with clients. And basically and that doesn't have to be through somebody that's passed, it can be through many different situations, but we remember the person or situation that is causing us to feel sad, grief, loss, pain, and we talk through it and we bring up some of the memories, and there's a process, and we renegotiate the situation, so to speak, so that there is a new relationship now that that person or situation is no longer with you. I can't explain it all in a video. That would have to be something that I do with you, but it's that sort of thing. Yeah, saying goodbye is like a metaphor, the old form of the old form and welcoming in the new form. It's not about letting go or forgetting them. It's just welcoming in a new form of their energy. It's, you know, remembering the life-giving memories that you had with them. Yeah. And grief is a natural response to loss, whether it's a job, home, friendship, physical death, marriage, pregnancy, I've said that. So, as difficult as many losses are, there is new beginnings, which this death card there is hope in this card. There is a new start. Yes, you have to go through the grief and the pain and the loss, of course, and it isn't easy, and there's no way of quickening it up. I mean, some people do not cry for months and months, and they just carry on working, and that's okay. You know, their time isn't ready to grieve yet. And when it is, it will happen. Their time isn't ready to quite let go yet. But bringing in the memories of the person, maybe making a lovely little altar to them in your room with, for instance, a picture, of course, or some things that you shared together, piece of music, places that you could have in your mind, or a picture of something physical you've kept of theirs. Yeah, as I say, some people, it takes a long time for them to actually even accept what has happened. Maybe you can never accept it, but you can live with it in a different way. It's a very hard topic to broach, but I did feel I needed to broach it today. I remember when my beloved dog died when I was about 9, and when I went on holiday and left her, I didn't get to say goodbye, and I'd forgotten to kiss her goodbye. And I said to my mum, can we turn round? I didn't say bye to Susie. And my mum said, oh no, you know, she'll be fine. My mum didn't know what was going to happen. And I didn't forget that when I came back from holiday and she'd been run over. Didn't forget that for a long time. And I remember Stevie Wonder's song, I Just Called to Say I Love You, playing on the radio the day I got back from holiday and found out. And my dad took me swimming to take my mind off it. And I just remember swimming under the water, crying. Yeah, and I had a little picture of her by my bed, as I do my granny. So, yeah. But if you're experiencing loss of anything like what I've spoken about today, whether it be a friend you loved dearly, a sister, a brother, and I'm talking about them not being around for you anymore. I'm not talking about physical death, although that as well. If you're in another country, you're missing where you were, you're missing your friendship group. If you've got married, had a baby, whatever it might be, it's absolutely normal to feel down and have moments of terrible grief and not understanding why things have happened, or, you know, feeling angry. And they're all okay. And I think it does get easier in time. It never goes away. Yeah, I'm just thinking about somebody else who I've just spent time with who lost their son. And yeah, this is why this is all coming up for me at the moment. And I don't think it ever does get easier. I think maybe losing a child is a whole different ball game, yeah. I obviously have not had that, so I can't even begin to imagine that. And at this moment in time, she just can't get over it. And I hope she does. Not get over it, but find a way to have some sort of happiness in her life again. But equally, some people may not. And yeah, I don't want to get all depressing in this video, I really don't. But I just wanted to acknowledge that if you're going through pain and loss and the death of something energetically or physically, then speak to somebody that will be a positive listening ear. Just listening is enough, and acknowledging how somebody's feeling. Or if necessary, grief counselling or trauma work or whatever. But I hope some of the things I've said in the video are of a little bit of help. And yes, sending very, very, very much love to you. Very much.